Hello, and welcome to another meeting of the Geek Cabal Whisperings. This is episode number 20, and today is January 21. 21. We just talked about this a second ago. Episode 21 for January 27th, so 2024.
Yep.
So it took us a week to finally get out and record again. I've been doing some work around the house, so glad to be back finally. So we'll start off with channel news. So the big one right now is that there's been a little bit of delay in filming just because of changes at my house, getting rooms ready, getting people moved in, that kind of stuff. A lot of life changes, which is also why we're not recording there, because right now there's animals and soon to be multiple dogs barking. So we got one dog there.
Hey.
Got one dog, so
He's pretty quiet though.
Yeah, she's a good pup, but the other one will be is a little bit louder. So
you don't want a situation where someone can legitimately ask, "Who let the dogs out?"
Yes, correct. So a little bit of a delay there, but we are back. We've got the we've got the extended crew here. So we've got Owen joining us today. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Jim.
Bob.
And I'm Owen.
So normally we have the possibility of 1 to 2 other people that would join us, but
yeah, we are still trying to sort out the best way to get at least one of our other members, Brad, who've seen our earlier videos. Yes, he is still very much part of the group. Just we've been trying to, his schedule and our schedules aren't quite syncing up. He's on the road a lot for his job, so we're trying to make it so that he can essentially dial in, and none of us are technically savvy enough to have made that happen just yet. So we're having to test certain elements, and it's just been taking time. So hopefully that'll be accomplished in the next few weeks. So
make sure you may want to make sure you're on camera there, bud.
I was on camera.
I know you were, but just make sure your pretty face is on there.
Yeah. Opening notes, channel news, etc. I just want to make a comment on some things we said in our last episode. We mentioned the woman who's going to be directing the Rey Skywalker movie, assuming it's still happening, and assuming she hasn't been fired. Because I keep hearing rumors of both of those things. But I just want to say that, in fairness, a lot of her comments about making men feel uncomfortable and whatnot were made years ago. And she was talking about her documentaries, the topics of which were like honor killings in Pakistan, for which, yeah, I can see why she'd say that. So, because that's very much a yes, those men should be made to feel uncomfortable.
And if that's the case, that entirely explains why sometimes you can't always just believe immediately what you read, that you have to.
Yeah, it was like 2 days after we recorded it, the drinker did a video on it, and he's like, "I'm not going to go where you guys think I'm going to go with this," and he'll spend a good few minutes on in fairness, we need to understand this was the context. She said other things since then that are kind of questionable, and at the press release, but those comments in particular, no, those were justified. And Jeff commented on it as well, and so I just wanted to make clear that at the time we were unaware of that. So, she's said some other things, and I do question letting a documentary filmmaker helm a probably at least $100 million movie. I still think that's a sketchy move at best.
A space fantasy movie?
Yes, it's a space fantasy movie. Unless, like Owen hit on, maybe her real plan is to film the documentary of the downfall of Star Wars. She just wants to be on the ground floor.
So, how's the newsletter coming along?
I am getting things sorted out on Substack. I have figured out how to upload our podcast videos to it. So the next step there, this is the Substack in general topic, not just the newsletter. The next step is making sure that I can then use that as the base RSS feed. Because if I can do that, which I think I can, it looks like I can, I've just got to sit down with it for a while and do this. I can take the audio, or it'll take the audio, or however it works, and I can upload that to the Apple podcast list, which is what 90% of the podcast services out there use. Once it's on that list, it's on most of the others. So if we can do that, then we can do this audio only to other actual podcasting services, which is a goal. So, fingers crossed. As far as the newsletter, I've got to sit down with Brad and Jeff again just to work out a timetable. And I just got to play around with, as far as I got to upload a few things just to practice to see how it all looks and what options I have with things. My hope is like the non-conservative projection is end of February. The conservative projection is probably more like end of March because I want to make sure everything can be done smoothly. I want to know what the options are as far as like, can I put graphics in them and everything like that, and I want the main page to look nice, not just a blank page. And then I want everyone that's going to be contributing, to have like a backlog of articles they've already written. So that once we get rolling, just in case we hit a snag somewhere, we've got others we can just throw in there, So, because Jeff and I talked about that whenever we sat down and talked about it, we definitely want to have backlog just in case. So yes, conservatively, end of March, but if everything goes well, possibly into February. Once I get everything going, I'm going to put the link to the Substack up here so people can at least check it out. But there won't be much on there. Just going to be like, hey, here's our Substack profile, Maybe a couple like, here's what you can expect. And then on that front, I've got to see what everyone actually wants to write. Because Brad and I have talked about trying to kind of fill out a D&D campaign setting that way through through articles and whatnot. And we'll have to figure out a timetable for that. But I also want to be able to write articles on just, other stuff that I like. So that'll have to be like a separate part or something. It's little details we still got to sort out. We got to sit everyone down, have a big conversation, and see where things go. But fingers crossed, no more than a month or two. So, in other channel news, I went ahead and started signing us up for the Amazon affiliate program. And so I have put affiliate links in the last few BattleTech book reviews because those are sold on Amazon. And so in the future, things that we talk about in depth, not just like, oh, hey, I was happened to looking at Amazon the other day, not like that. We're not going to be cheap here. Things that we actually talk about that people can make an informed decision to buy, we're going to put affiliate links in there. But we're not going to go out of our way to like exclusively do that. It's just going to be, it's mainly like, at the moment, it's mainly going to be book reviews. So, and then once we start, and then since I've signed us up, we'll do a video kind of talking about the equipment stuff we use here in case people are interested, links to that. But that'll be like, this will be the only kind of pseudo shameless one here. The rest will be, if it's a product we're actually going to already be talking about and they happen to sell it on Amazon, then we'll do it. But we're not going to go out of our way to be like, well, that thing's on Amazon. I kind of like that. And then go to Walmart and buy it and talk about it. Like, we're not going to be doing that. So it's not going to be a bunch of shameless plugs. This isn't going to turn to the shameless buy everything off Amazon channel. So, and hopefully I didn't violate the terms of service by saying any of that.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure you have to be a lawyer to understand that you can't understand them. So, and just for those of you who don't understand what I mean by affiliate links, basically what happens is we talk about a product. Down in the description will be a link to where you can buy it off Amazon. But it'll be a special link. It'll know that we gave you the link. And then we get essentially it's similar to a commission. It doesn't cost the person buying it anything extra. And a very, very tiny percentage would go to us. And at the moment, that kind of, actually, I don't even think I can say what the money's going to be used for. I'm pretty sure that is actually a thing I can't do. So, yeah. So that's what's there. And, yeah. That's all I can say about that, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean.
And they will be very clearly marked as affiliate links, just in case you, for some reason, are like, well, I want to buy that, but I don't want to give them a commission or something. Like, if you're anti-affiliate link, for whatever reason, it's your call. They are very clearly marked. So.
All right.
I think that's most of what I had on channel news, I think.
like I say, yeah, mine is just we're finally getting over to the that final hump of getting the one room that we were remodeling done. The flooring's done. We just brought in the baseboards. They were sitting outside, and I'm like, it's MDF, so I mean, they're gonna dry out a little bit before I put them on the wall.
Yeah.
So got them in the room drying out. Got to get those put in, and then we'll be moving my youngest into his room finally time. So lots going on there. So that's why I'm been out of commission for a little bit. So, but anyways,
So I guess there is one other very brief thing is we are also in the very near future going to be filming a updates for the channel. Here's where things stand kind of video. So keep an eye out for that.
yep. All right. So you want to go into movies? I know you kind of already mentioned your first topic in movies. So,
Yeah. Okay. So, the Rey movie, the Rey Skywalker movie, we keep getting rumors that it may or may not be canceled. The woman who's assigned to direct it may or may not be the one directing it. A tentative plot leaked. I don't know if you guys saw that.
did not.
Speaking of movie leaks, just continue what you're going to say. I got
Yeah. So now God only knows how, like, if this is legitimate or not, because it's a leak. It's hopefully from like a first draft that got shot down mercilessly and, hit the ground like a Japanese Zero. But, yeah, apparently it was going to be Rey somehow got pregnant with Kylo's kid.
Isn't he?
Yeah, he's dead. Presumably somehow through the Force
Healing?
for when they kissed or something.
See, the Force
Or
healing
possibly the Force healing is something like that.
Yeah, because she didn't he like put her hand.
Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe
I've tried to put as much of that movie out of my mind as I could.
Well, at least this wasn't the other way around that Rey died and that Kylo survived. But then since she did the Force healing on his stomach, somehow impregnated him through the Force.
Yeah. That reminds me of a movie I saw as a parody, and I can't think of the name of it. But towards the end, this guy comes back to the woman he's loved through most of the movie, and he's got a son with him, and she's like, well, who's this? I go, he's my son. And he mentions that his hair is kind of like hers, and he's like, yeah, he takes after his mom, and she's just like, I'm the mother?
Like, why didn't you tell me?
And it's one of those like, wait a minute, like, you had to have known that you had a kid.
I think that's a common.
Yeah, it was. That was the whole point. But yeah, so that was part of the plot, and then it's her basically carrying out Luke's job that he was supposed to have of rebuilding the Jedi, and it just it's things kind of like that, and I had to stop after the so then Rey is pregnant with Kylo's kid. I was like, nope, I'm done.
Well, next thing they're going to do is they're going to be like, then we've got Broom Boy, who becomes Broom Boy Skywalker.
Forgot all about Broom Boy. Where's his movie? Yeah. So who knows what the hell's happening there? I've even literally seen people's video topics that are literally like, what the hell is happening with Star Wars? Like, no one knows. And they keep announcing other series, and they apparently finally crossed the line that I knew they were going to cross. Whenever they're like, oh, let's get rid of the old EU, and from now on it'll all be canon. We double pinky swear. Yeah, Asajj Ventress isn't dead.
Yeah, I saw that they are bringing her back.
Yes.
After she died a noble death.
Yeah, well, wherever she died, they're like, yeah, so anyway, the whole canon thing, yeah, we lied.
Well, I'm pretty sure.
I'm sitting there like, I knew you did the moment you said it.
Can people just stay dead?
I mean, to be honest, from what I've gathered, Asajj Ventress had a great arc. She went from being, obviously good, then turning evil, and then being redeemed, and then I believe dying when she was saving Quinlan Voss.
Maybe. All I know is the old EU, I think, had the better approach, where she just kind of disappeared. Like, she pretended to be dying, did something noble. Obi-Wan was like, all right, they had the clones take her, and then she booted the clones out of the shuttle and took off. That's the last thing we ever heard of her. Is that way, if you want to, you can bring her back later, but if you don't, well, she never showed up, so she is just out there somewhere. But yeah, no, a company that can just be like, oh, all this other continuity these other people made, whoosh, will eventually be like, all this continuity we made, whoosh, like, they don't care, you know? And I've seen people, some of their videos. One guy does a bunch of Star Wars videos. I guess even someone commented like, "Well, why do you care so much about continuity?" And he's like, "Well, I can't believe I have to make this video, but here goes." And had to explain why he cares about continuity. So yeah, yeah, but yeah. So no one knows what the hell's going on with Star Wars right now.
Well,
Probably least of all the people at Disney.
I know you've got a movie one, but to counteract where people have no clue what's going on to a thing where people actually have a clue what's going on is just the last couple days they announced that Jurassic World or Jurassic Park, either one, they say Jurassic World, it may be Jurassic Park, nobody knows.
It's all the same franchise.
You'll understand here in a second why it's a confusion.
It's a prequel.
Well, so first of all, Colin Trevorrow's name is nowhere on it.
Okay.
The person's name that's so far been applied to it is one is Steven Spielberg.
Okay.
And David Koepp, the original writer of Jurassic Park, the movie adaptation, and The Lost World.
Okay.
He is coming in to write it.
Okay.
So, after the crap storm that Dominion was, there's an actual possibility we may actually have a good Jurassic Park or Jurassic World movie again. And the thing is that there is so much time that they should go back and make either a prequel or something between the original Jurassic Park and the Lost World, or something in between there. There's plenty of stuff out there. I mean, they have games that follow that they could use some of that. All sorts of different items they could use. But
I was waiting for you to tell me that like they're just going to ignore most of the movies and just make like a real part 2 or part 3 or whatever.
Well, supposedly none of the original. It's supposed to be going in a new direction. None of the original cast being assigned anything. So no, not even the original cast. So obviously no Chris Pratt, no Bryce Dallas Howard, no I'm thinking Alan Grant.
Oh, yeah, him.
Yes.
Oh God. Is it Sam Neill?
Yes.
Yeah.
So first I was thinking Ed O'Neill. Look, no.
No, it's not Al Bundy.
But yes.
The younger folks out there probably know him from Modern Family, but
no Jeff
know him from
Goldblum.
Married with Children.
No Jeff Goldblum, no. Which is fine. I mean, I think that's the right way to go. Is just, brush that aside, just write something different. So, anyways, yeah, that's supposed to have a 2025 release. So you're talking about a fast track.
Well, that's what someone was talking about as far as the Rey movie. Actually, was it's supposed to be filming this year, and they're guesstimating so maybe 2025, 2026. But what are they going to do in 2027? Because you know the significance of that, right?
That'd be 50
That's the
years.
50th anniversary for A New Hope, yeah. And so they concluded that the Rey movie is probably going to be done too quickly, and they're like, well, I guess that leaves us Mando and Grogu.
Do not release the Rey movie in 2027.
And they were just kind of like, yeah, Mando and Grogu. That's what we want at the box office for the 50th anniversary. And they're just like, God damn it.
No. Anyway,
no, Disney won't do it, but it'd be nice if they'd re-release the original trilogy in theaters for a while.
So Owen, what is your?
Well, speaking of movie leaks, not just the movie script leaking, but when I hear the entire movie, real footage, all clips from it. Apparently, the fourth or the newest SpongeBob movie, the entirety just got leaked.
Oh, wow.
That actually brings back memories of right before Revenge of the Sith came out. Somebody had leaked, not the complete edited movie, but some of them where they obviously the special effects haven't been put in or whatever, but leaked pretty much the entirety of the movie online.
Yeah. I still remember the video game came out weeks before the movie, and the video game spoils the entire plot of the movie. Oh well.
Except if you're Anakin and you kill Obi-Wan and
Yeah,
kill
I
the-
mean, yeah.
People
Obviously,
like-
the dark side ending didn't happen where you kill the emperor and take over, but yeah. But yeah,
Well, then you don't see Jocasta Nu get murdered by Anakin.
which is a shame. I would have preferred that happen in the movie. I thought she was a little too uppity. She typifies what was wrong with the Jedi at that point. Like she is like the living embodiment of that. If it's not in the archives, it's not here. It's like, no, we couldn't possibly be wrong about anything. It's got to be that that you're wrong. It doesn't exist. Like that's the Jedi's problem in a nutshell, right there. Yeah, I wonder if Lucas even realized that, or if that was just one of those like unintentional genius moments. You know, or if he just didn't realize, kind of like how Marvel thought that everyone was on Iron Man's side in Civil War until they started like actually polling the people reading the books. Like, no way, we're on Captain America's side. They're like, what? Like, the hell, you mean you guys are on Iron Man's side? Like, why? You're writing him like a total douchebag.
So then they're like, well, no, we can't make Iron Man right in Civil War 2, so we're going to make Captain Marvel right. And they're like, then Iron Man is right in that one.
I think Iron Man was considered the one who was right in that one.
Yes.
Because I'm pretty sure no one was on Captain Marvel's side, like in the real world, you know, except for those handful of people that are like actual wannabe fascist types. But which, despite what people say online, is actually very few and far between people. Just to throw that out there.
I don't know about the Civil War 2.
Well, if you've seen sometime you need to watch Minority Report, because that's pretty much what Civil War 2 is.
Yeah. Basically, someone comes along that has powers to see the future, and Carol Danvers is like, well, if we know people are going to commit crimes, let's stop them. And by stop them, I mean probably murder them with my cosmic powers.
But the problem is that as soon as you start doing that, those futures never come to exist. So how do you know that they're...
Right. How do you know they were going to in the first place? You know, like... I mean, I suppose you could be like, okay, well, this guy told me, he laid out what was going to happen. I didn't believe him, and it happened exactly as it did. Okay. But you jump straight from that to, well, I must stop them by all means necessary. Not like, why don't I just, like, go talk to these people and be like, hey, how about you not do that? Why don't I try that, at least?
Well, and this is where, again, it parallels Minority Report, because in Minority Report, you learn that there are 3 precogs that have to be in sync for the future to actually happen. And if they found out that in some instances there were only 2 of the 3 were in sync.
And that's where the name of the movie comes from. The one that's not in sync, it issues a minority report, basically saying, no, that's not going to happen. And also there's a way to fool them, or they got taken offline or something. Yeah, there's, you know... Anyway, it's a good movie. You should watch it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of movies I need to watch.
But speaking of, in our absence, I actually only watched like one movie. It's called The Holdovers. I had seen advertisements for it. I thought it looked entertaining. Paul Giamatti is the main person I know that's in it. It's at a private boys' school in in 1970. Yeah, right around Christmas. And there's like a couple of the kids can't go home for various reasons, so they're stuck there. So one of the teachers has to stay behind to watch over them. And well, he kind of draws the short straw. So it's him, 5 or 6 of the boys. Excuse me. And the cook, who just lost her son in Vietnam. And he was a former student there, too. And it's one of those, you know, people from different backgrounds trying to understand each other and, you know, different ages and everything. And it ends up coming down to just one of the boys because one of the others, like I said, it's a private school. So, you know, most of their parents are fairly wealthy. And one of them, I don't remember which airplane company he worked for, but literally sends his private helicopter to pick up his son. Is like, all right, we're going to go skiing in Aspen instead. And he's like, well, you guys want to come along? And like 4 of them are able to get permission from their parents, except for the one that gets stuck behind, so he can't go. And so it's just them. And come to find out, like his dad, that his real dad is like crazy. He's in an institute. And so it's his stepdad, and his mom and his stepdad are like, oh, well, you can't come home because we're going someplace to bang for a while. And he's just like, are you fucking kidding me? You know, he's like, well, just let me come home and stay at the house. And so he wasn't even supposed to be there. You know, now he's stuck there. And, you know, it's a lot of, various people's like I said, different backgrounds, trying to understand each other and get along. There's a lot of good laughs in it, and a lot of somber moments, and I thought it was a pretty good movie. Not the usual sci-fi fantasy stuff I watch. It's, real people kind of stuff. I thought it was pretty good. It's on Peacock, I think, right now. So
Yeah, I forgot actually to watch two movies because before I watched my second one, I forgot about the one I watched before that. Uh, and it really just showed me why the late 90s movies were just awful in every. Because I watched She's All That with Freddie Prinze Jr., Paul Walker.
I never did actually watch that. I know which movie you're talking about. God, what's the girl's name that's in it? Because she's also in one movie you keep talking about, the '90s tech movie, late '90s tech movie. That's like they're like
Antitrust.
Yeah, she's in that. Rachel Cook.
Yes.
Yeah, Rachel Lee Cook. Yeah.
Yep. But no, there's a scene where
I know the basic plot and everything. I just never watched it.
So there's supposed to be originally it starts off with a guy making a bet that he can turn like this geeky girl into the prom queen, and so he starts like talking to her and hanging out with her and stuff. But what ends up happening is he forgets about the bet. He ends up actually liking the girl and wanting to date her. But then Paul Walker, who is like the douche in the movie, goes in and spoils it that hey, he made a bet that he can make you make you prom queen or whatever. She flips out, which rightfully so.
You'll also recognize this plot if you've ever seen Not Another Teen Movie. It is the exact same plot. This is the movie it took it from.
But no, there's a scene where they're talking about like these guys are out talking about who. Actually, it's a group of people talking about who's going to be voted for prom queen, but they're rapping it. And I'm like, yeah, that's what 99, that's what 90s high schools were like. Anytime that they're like talking about who's going to be, they're out there, someone's beatboxing, someone's going to be like rapping about who's going to be prom queen.
Well, I do still love in Not Another Teen Movie there towards the end, the dance. You see everyone's out there on the dance floor, and you're like, high school students would be this good. And there's literally a guy there on the side like, you'd never believe it, but every person at this school is a professional dancer.
Well, yeah. Well, the funny thing is, because they do that in that movie because it's Usher's the DJ.
Oh, of course.
And then
that makes sense.
He's like, okay, now guys, and the guys are like in perfect sync, and then the girls are doing. And it's just like that's not how high school is. This is a terrible. But people liked it back then. That was the thing. So, but no. And then after that, I watched that. I finally, as much as I talk about, Tropic Thunder and why movies like that should still be made, I finally got to watch it, and not realizing that it was a parody of why movies should be made. How movies are made and how the actors act, and how people just don't care. I didn't realize like Tom Cruise's character played much more of a.
Oh, Lex Grossman. Yeah.
They're like,
yeah, he's great.
He's like, let him. He's like, go ahead, kill him.
Matthew McConaughey is the agent.
The agent for Ben Stiller's character. He's like, yeah, kill him. He's like, don't worry. He's like, we'll get money on it. He's like, and for the fact that the movie fails, we'll still get paid more than if we actually produced the movie. When they're like, don't worry, you'll get a G5. He's like, you're talking about the plane, right?
Yeah, I liked. I don't remember what spawned it, but where Robert Downey Jr. is like, what do you mean, you people? And the actual black guy's like, what do you mean, you people? It's like, and he's like, whether these people have been keeping us down for 400 years. He's like, what the hell are you talking about?
And that's the thing is that if you look at that in that context, I mean, I don't know. I think it's funny. I don't think most people were like, "Oh yeah, that's a terrible thing," and
No. At the time, people thought that movie was hilarious. Like I remember going to watch that. That's easily one of the funniest movies I've ever seen.
It was a good movie. Got really confused at the beginning because it's like I thought it was ads playing at the beginning of the theme, but it's
the Oscar reel or something, or the movies they've been in.
Yeah, because it's like the previews were like fake movies that these fake actors had been in already. So you had like Scorcher 1 through 6. And then the one about I guess the gay priest with Toby
Yeah.
Maguire.
Yeah.
where they're gay monks is what they're supposed to be. But yeah, there's like one where he's like they're both praying, he's like rubbing his rosary beads, and they're like, yeah, and I'm just like, it was so stupid. But and then there was one with the drink, the energy drink, and I can't even think what it's called.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen the movie. But...
No, because at first I was like, what the hell kind of drink commercial is this? And they're like, and it's got it's got cursing in it. I'm like, this has got to be part of the movie, and I'm just not realizing.
Well, I like where they explain it. It's like 4 men survived this mission, and like 3 of them wrote books based on it, of which they were turned into 4 different movies. This is not one of them, or something like that.
No, it's 5 men went on the mission, 4 men survived, 3 wrote books, 2 got published, 1 got a movie deal. And then the guy...
Then you find out he's a fake.
Yeah,
it's Nick Nolte.
Nick Nolte looks like he's got fake hands, like little claw hands. But somebody that goes and grabs him and rips him off, and he's got regular hands, and supposedly he had slapped a grenade down or something. Yeah, there's a whole scene where he's like holding the one guy's just like nubs of the thing, like exploded goobly. And they said that like, yeah, we wasted a $4 million explosion and the camera wasn't even rolling. So, but you know what? Like, and I think if people go and watch that kind of, like, I don't see anything that was overly, bad about that movie. I mean, it was all tongue in cheek. I mean, obviously, it was not making fun of anybody.
Well, I think in September we're going to have an actual litmus test of what people will and won't tolerate these days.
Well,
do you remember what I sent you the link to in September?
What? Well, no, I didn't see the link.
There's a company called Fathom Events that plays older movies in theaters. Excuse me. In September, they're going to be running Blazing Saddles.
I've never seen it, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Like, I've even seen an interview with Mel Brooks where he was like, yeah, I figured they're going to run me out of Hollywood after that movie. He's like, I didn't think people were going to find it that funny and let me stay. But they did. So, yeah, for those of you who haven't seen it, you should watch it.
I can't wait to see what's going to happen when that happens.
Yeah, like, that's going to be interesting.
Well, on the topic of movies, I saw one. Well, I missed the beginning part, but watched the rest of Avatar: The Way of Water.
Yeah. What'd you think of what you saw?
The visuals were good as always. About on par with the last Avatar movie. Stunning. All the creature designs looked good. All looked real. The story was about the same on par as the last movie.
I've heard it was interesting.
Well, I walked in on a part of it while he was watching it, and I swear there was one of the Na'vi, I think is what they're called, speaking like a hillbilly, holding a rifle, and I'm just like,
what? Did you remember the? Well,
he's like, well, we're gonna go out here and get these things, and it's like,
well, what happened is, okay, so they couldn't think of a new villain, so the villain from the last movie, who, if you remember, died.
Yeah.
Well, turns out he had one of those fancy blue avatar bodies, so now he's one of those.
Did he, like, just permanently transfer his mind into it with, like, his dying breath or something?
I don't know.
Like,
well, that's what supposedly...
Did the magic unobtainium metal do it for him?
Well, no. Unobtainium is so old school. Now they're hunting space whales.
I've got to watch it now. I've got to know how this makes sense.
Well, I'm glad the space whales went from Star Wars to Avatar.
Well. Now the whale. No, you see these space whales. I'm calling them that because they're on a different planet. But no, they're in the ocean.
Okay, good. They're not flying whales.
Damn.
With hyperdrives.
But they want to kill these space whales because in their brain is like their brain juice basically apparently stops aging.
Okay.
So it's the plot of Insurrection.
Kind of, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Except for that was just the planet's radiation did that.
I was waiting for you're going to tell me they wanted their space blubber to power their lanterns.
Oh no, but turns out the space whales are, of course, highly emotional creatures who are smarter than humans, despite being whales.
I mean, So I understand it. Whales are fairly intelligent.
Well,
like, they definitely have emotions and
So
everything.
why haven't they built starships? Just because they have flippers?
Flippers, and they live underwater. I watched a thing on, I'm going to say the History Channel, but it probably wasn't because this isn't history. It's probably a Discovery or Science Channel. It was like a multi-part series. Like, well, suppose intelligent life did exist. What would it be like? And there was one entirely dedicated to like the biology side of it. And they were like, yeah, it's nice to imagine these things, but like, we're not going to visit. We're not going to find intelligent dolphins that build spaceships because you can't build spaceships underwater. Like, metallurgy doesn't work underwater. You can't heat things, and you can't weld, and you can't do all the things you need to do to build a spaceship.
How did the Mon Calamari do it?
Well, they've got kind of flipper hands. Plus, they can survive above the water also. So,
Also, yeah, there's a lot of changes. This takes place quite a bit after the first movie, so now Jake Sully's got children. Also, evil.
is he as derelict in his duty to them as he was to the humans who hired him? Because you realize the entire first movie wouldn't have happened if he'd have just done his damn job, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's literally like the worst employee ever.
All you had to do was convince him to leave.
Convince him to leave, or ask the Na'vi, hey guys, so the humans aren't going to leave. They are going to just murder you. Is there someplace else we can find a whole bunch of this metal? Any place else? Like, or can you like convince me to convince them to tell them like your big tree's cursed or something? Like, you help us, we will leave you alone. You know, instead he's like, no, I'm going to hit Natiri. That's my job now.
He's like, well, since my legs work.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Also, apparently, evil Colonel guy has a son who was never brought up before.
That's all right. He's probably a bad parent.
Well,
I mean, he's an evil guy in a James Cameron movie. He's literally evil in every way possible.
no, yeah. His son isn't evil like him. He's also a tree hugger.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, it's the only thing I really fault James Cameron for is like his villains are terrible. Like they either get like no characterization or it's just like, oh, it's a corporate bad guy. Because think about it, who are his villains? Skynet. It's no characterization at all. We never even see Skynet until like Terminator 4. And even then it's like a monitor, and that's not one of Cameron's movies. Aliens, it's Burke, the ultimate corporate stooge, you know, who's just like is as one dimensional as possible in his motivation. And who else we got? In True Lies, we got generic Arab terrorists, you know, which you probably couldn't make that movie now. Not for any other reasons, probably for that reason. Then, well, you've got the first Avatar. It's like, oh, unobtainium. We're going to do anything we can to get this native race that's obviously intelligent, that we know is intelligent, so we built these robot things so we can interact with them and everything. Yeah, screw them. Like, going to kill them. Now, I have to agree that that would actually be humanity's approach. We wouldn't have even bothered with the robots. We would have just bombed them. Like, if you have space superiority, like, you win. That's the way it works.
Yeah,
that's my problem with that movie.
Yeah, the whole battle scene. Yeah, you're not going to, especially if they have flying creatures, you're not going to fly at level where they can fly. You're going to fly above where they can fly.
Right. And then add in the fact that they shouldn't be stronger than humans. They should be weaker than humans. And, like, they should stand no chance. Because with their lesser gravity, they're going to have evolved a form that can't handle higher gravity. Whereas the human form, it's going to be like they're fighting John Carter on Mars. Which, if you never saw that movie is actually halfway decent. You know, it's kind of a shame that movie didn't succeed because it was actually entertaining.
So yeah, the movie, the visuals were good. The story was a bit lackluster. It was mediocre.
Yeah, I suppose I should check it out at some point anyway. Like the 2016 Ghostbusters, like, I kind of want to know, but I kind of don't.
Oh no, Way of Water. If you watch it, you're not going to be disappointed, but you're not going to be like clapping after the movie's over.
Ooh, where's part 3 that I know is coming?
Oh yeah, part 3.
I thought there was.
I think like 4 and 5 or something.
I think they have at least 3 or 4 scheduled.
Only delayed because Cameron hasn't figured out how to get to Pandora to film them on site yet.
Oh man.
Pandora's down in Florida.
I mean, no. That's Pandora's box.
All right. Anything else on the movie front?
I don't think so.
Keep it a sailing.
All right, on the books. Finally finished visual aid for those who are watching the video here. Finally finished this fine book that I'll be doing a review for. It's called Strong Towns. Essentially makes the argument that we have completely screwed up our urban development. Primarily after World War II with the whole suburb thing. Like, that's probably really going to come back to bite us in the ass financially in the very near future. And the guy kind of talks about what things we need to do to fix it. And it's a lot of, well, we did this for, thousands of years of human development and it worked. And then suddenly we decided to do this and it's probably not going to work. And here's why. So, then I'll talk about it more in the review. Last few chapters are kind of just more like how our society is drifting apart because of things like that. And we need to refocus. But it's a good book. The guy's got a YouTube channel too, I believe, also just called Strong Towns, where he talks about a lot of the same topics. That's where I heard about the book. And he's part of a group of people that have channels like that, talking about various problems in urban development and just various things that we have done that we are going to want to reverse as quickly as possible. So that was a very interesting book.
When you're reading a book in school right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm reading The Catcher in the Rye.
Oh, that's right. You felt the urge to become a secret assassin yet?
No, not yet. I don't think that happens until chapter 12.
You got it pinpointed where the MK Ultra program kicks in.
No, I just finished reading another book. It's called Winter Fortress. It's about how Norwegian commandos sabotage the Germans' heavy water plant in Norway.
Yeah, you were talking about that last time. Winter Fortress. Okay.
But yeah, I finally finished it.
Yeah. Good book?
Yeah, it was a pretty good book. Very detailed.
Is it does it approach it from like a here's factually what happened, or is it like craft like a narrative, like a story almost?
It's very chronological.
Okay.
What happened? So yeah, it's like a narrative.
Okay. Sounds interesting. Probably make a movie on that if they haven't already.
Well, no, yeah, because it actually got sabotaged. The first time they went in to destroy the heavy water production, but then the Germans got it back online. So then the Allies just bombed the place, the hell, but they didn't actually hit the right place.
That sounds about right.
Oopsie.
But then they're still like, the Germans were like, this place is too dangerous. So they try to move the heavy water, but as they're ferrying it, the ferry gets blown up by timed explosives, and then all the heavy water just sinks.
Is it because it's heavier than water?
Yeah, that's what is it? Deuterium, right?
Yeah.
Where it's it's the heavier hydrogen atoms, right? That's the difference.
Used to try to get uranium into its rarer isotope.
Yeah, that was the wrong path. Should have used gas diffusion like we did. So, yeah, it actually comes up in the movie Oppenheimer. I believe that's where he realized that they had an advantage over the Germans at that point, because the Germans were already on their way to constructing something by the time we got started. But at that point, at least in the way the movie portrays events, he realized that they've gone down the wrong alleyway, that it's not going to lead anywhere, and it's going to cost them all kinds of time to figure that out and then backtrack. Whereas they knew pretty quickly to go to gas diffusion. So, which is why they had to construct, I believe at the time, it may still be, like, in terms of square footage, the largest building on Earth to house all the centrifuges to be able to do it all at once. And the building was big enough and had such excess capacity. This isn't Oppenheimer, so that's on the History Channel. That, like, if something would happen and like a room got irradiated, they just brick it up. Like, they just put bricks over it so no one could get in that section, just keep on going. Like, they had enough excess capacity with the rest of the building, they're just like, no need to build new ones, so just cover it up, no one go in there for like 50 years,
Kind of what they did on 3 Mile Island with the one reactor. They just, no one's going in there. We'll just fill it in.
Yeah.
Fine.
You been reading any books?
I don't know what a book is.
It's a collection of dead tree leaves, kind of.
with
More like shavings from the trunk, but
Yeah.
with symbols on them that translate into
our arcane formulae that tell you secrets of the universe, or crackpot theories, one of the two, depending on which kind of books you read, I suppose.
No, I've got. I said my hobby is to go outside and go into the thrifting world, which is when we get into gaming. I will get into my thrift finds.
Well, the other book I'm going to mention is going to be under gaming. So, I have started the next BattleTech novel in the line of what I'm reading, and I'm actually 2/3 of the way through it already. So, and despite the fact it's a bigger one, like 300 some odd pages, it's not one of the novellas. It's pretty good so far. So, for gaming, we have a topic to discuss that made the rounds about a week ago. The gentleman, I believe his name is Ben Riggs, who wrote the book Slaying the Dragon. Do you have any idea what that book is about?
no.
Okay.
Slaying a dragon.
Well, it's a rather specific one.
It's a metaphor.
Yeah, it's about the rise and fall of TSR. Mainly the fall, apparently. And that it mainly blames, I believe, Lorraine Williams for. So, it's a good book. It is on my list. I just haven't gotten to it yet. Right now, I'm reading up on the creation of Dungeons and Dragons, as far as like Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson and a lot of that. I want to finish that book first. But the gentleman who wrote this book, apparently a couple weeks ago, went on Reddit and declared that the golden age of RPGs is dead. This being the golden age. Now, his perspective is essentially that this golden age came about because of 5th edition D&D. And what marked it as the golden age was all these people were making content that was compatible with 5th edition D&D. And there was this ultimate gateway into things. And that now that it's moving into 6th edition, which will have lower sales, but also thanks to these self-inflicted wounds of Wizards of the Coast, all the other companies are starting to drift away now and make their own things. And so now it's going to be a scattershot instead of one system. He's basically saying that, sales are going to drop off, et cetera, et cetera. And several people and he used some rather specific examples, like Matthew Colville, who owns the MCDM company game system that just went up on Kickstarter and made like $5 or $6 million, some ungodly amount of money. And the guy, his videos get all kinds of views, but he's like, well, now that he's got his own system, like, he's not going to keep promoting 5th edition. And, a lot of people are like, well, he might. Like, he still plays 5th edition. That's still where he's going to get a lot of views for his content. There's nothing saying he's going to stop. Plus his game might not succeed beyond Kickstarter, And so, plus, even if he doesn't, all of his videos still exist. YouTube is forever, apparently. So, until you get banned or something. But, yeah, like, he made points, but they're all easily refutable points. Like, okay, so if D&D 5th edition isn't the gateway anymore, some other game will be. There will still always be one game that the majority of people flock to, and then from there spread out once they get tired of it. And so you've got that, and also I don't know the guy's name, but the guy on Total Party Skills is right. And like one of the things about golden ages and whatnot is you can't say that you're in one while you're in one. It's only in hindsight that you can say, yeah, that clearly was, or yeah, that wasn't. So you can't just arbitrarily like, well, I guess the golden age is over, because you can't say that you're actually in one when you're in one. So you sure can't say that it's over. So it's one of those, like, 20 years down the road, historians will decide if we were or weren't, like gaming historians, which, unfortunately, the guy saying this is a gaming historian, so he'll be the guy that has to say whether we were or not, and he's already giving his opinion. But anyway, you guys, any kind of thoughts on that, based on what you've seen over the last year or two? or longer back. I don't care.
It'll be an interesting time. All these systems springing up.
Yeah.
Well, and see, I mean, I've only started in fifth edition, so I have no idea like that kind of a transition. The only thing I can look back to is like we when HeroClix transitioned and the devastation I think that probably did to their current fan base, and then the people that dropped off and stuff like that. They did it right in the middle of the pandemic too, so
Right.
but that's the only comparison I can have, and I just know that, especially if the fact that they had a system that was so universal across that they're just, I mean, to a point.
I mean, fifth edition was such like a large symbol. It was everyone knew what fifth edition was, and now they're moving to sixth edition, 5.5 D&D. Was it?
Well, according to them, oh, it's all just one edition now. But we all know that's not true. Because if it were true, you wouldn't need to buy a new player's handbook because the rules would still be the same. But the rules aren't going to be the same, meaning it's not the same game.
We'll just have to open the book and read what they changed.
Yeah. But no, part of what he was kind of getting at, I really should have like got his like the whole full quote down, but it's kind of a lengthy thing. Because he also kind of talked about how part of it is that the reason fifth edition got to where it was also heavily relied on the fact that Stranger Things came out and got people interested in Dungeons and Dragons, and that nostalgia for the 80s, even for people that were never alive in the 80s. And that helped drive things. Critical Role helped drive things. And well, there's one season left for Stranger Things, and Critical Role, those folks have made 2 games of their own. Are they going to keep doing the thing with 5th edition or not? So there's all these externalities that Wizards of the Coast has no control over that are now starting to shift their focus. And, is the game going to keep up? But the counterpoint a lot of people keep trying to make is, well, you're talking about RPGs. You're not talking about Dungeons and Dragons. All these other systems popping up could mean more people start playing. Because people are like, well, I'd play an RPG, but might finally see one like, that one will work, though, and flock to that one. There's no reason that the market's going to shrink. I personally think the market will grow. It's just that individual market share will shrink. So, like, okay, to use the pie analogy that everyone always tries to use here, the pie will now become bigger because I think more people will be in, but people might respectively get smaller pieces, but the pie itself will keep getting bigger. And if that's the case, then RPGs as a whole will still be in this golden age because we'll still keep growing. So at least that's my opinion. But
Well, and it depends on, I guess, on how people are getting into the RPG, into an RPG. Because to me, it seems like it's more, hey, I know somebody that does this. You should try to sit in on one of these sometime and see what you think. And if you ever get to the point where you're alienating people or they don't want to be part of that, you may start looking at where it's shrinking, or where people are like, well, I don't really want to deal with this anymore. Or to your point, it also could be the opposite, where people are like, well, this is what it's switching to. Let's figure it out, and might as well get somebody new in here too, so that.
yeah, I mean, like the core of his argument in that 5th edition is a good gateway. I believe that. I agree with that because 5th edition is easy to learn, and people see that they're like, oh, like, okay, this is nice, but then some people are perfectly content with that, and others are like, well, I'd like this, but if it had this instead, or like they'll get into it like, well, what were the older editions like? And some people are like, wow, that sounds entertaining. I want to play that, and that's well, any of the older ones, but that's what the OSR is making. They're basically remaking first, second, third edition across various games with various changes to them to make it more like the older editions. Because each of first and second, as I understand it, have a very similar flavor. Third is like the first step into where we are now with fifth, where there's definitely a shift towards making the player characters a lot more powerful. Fourth was just like a weird misstep that no one wanted. And then fifth took some of the best ideas from the previous editions and kind of merged them together, but also made it so that you're mainly playing out heroic fantasy instead of like what first edition was, which is like you're a farmer who decided to like go adventuring one day, and so you're probably going to die.
With us, what Dungeon Crawl Classics was.
Yes, and Dungeon Crawl Classics is trying to recapture that feel. Most of the engine's built off third, but it's trying to recapture that feel, and so yeah, and it does as far as I can tell. You know, and then there's also Shadow Dark, which just came out, and I've got the book for it. I just haven't had a chance to read through it yet. So, and then like I've mentioned a couple times, we are trying to. A couple of us are trying to also create our own system. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're trying to create your own system. You and Brad are cooking up a setting. Last time I checked.
Yeah. So on that front, Brad, myself, and Jeff and Chad is in one of the meetings. We've talked about a setting and a system that we want to make for that. That's like big picture idea. We also want to do a few other things, just like to prove that we can actually build something. Proof of concept. So they're going to have to be a lot smaller scale, and then figuring out how to sell them. Because part of this is about making money. I know we're not going to make a fortune off of it or anything, but having some other money coming in would be great. So we could buy other stuff because consumerism, but beats the hell out of communism. But about everything does. So yeah, so we've got two different development tracks that we're on. The one, the lesser one, I've got most of it up here. I've just got to figure out how to actually write it in clear, concise language, the order I should write things in, and just how much development it's going to be. Because I don't think it's going to have a monster manual, for instance. It's mainly going to be like, okay, use this with the game you have, but do this instead, kind of stuff.
Mm.
And once you get to that point, it'll be fairly easy to convert existing monsters to the other system. And we'll put examples. And if it actually goes anywhere, then yeah, I'll take time to make a monster manual eventually. But I can't make the art, and I don't have the money to pay someone to make the art. I don't want to use the AI art because I don't want to get involved in all that controversy. So I'm kind of stuck with, all right, unless you want like pencil sketches from someone that could like probably not pass high school art class, like.
Hey.
Well, we'll just have to get Grant to draw the art for you.
Well, I mean, maybe.
He's actually a pretty decent artist for.
Well, yeah. I'm trying to make my own setting. I haven't actually touched it in a couple months. That's just, what's the best way to put it? Oh hey, this would be neat, and I stick it on my notes app somewhere.
Well, I mean, if we get things going with the newsletter, the long term plan is I'd like to. We're talking year plan here. We'll spend like the first year going through one setting, and if we think we're all pretty well got it good, then in the next year we'll start jump to another setting, and eventually the hope will be we'll have enough material we can package that and sell that somewhere, or we'll start charging something for the newsletter, or we'll sell advertising space in it or something. That seems to be the way people do it. But yeah, so let's see. So after that, I have finally finished this BattleTech book, Tamar Rising, which is a source book, not a novel, for those of you who are only listening. And this is about the Tamar Pact region. Actually, it's called the Hinterlands now, where the Jade Falcon occupation zone formerly sat. This is in the Ill Clan era. So I'll be reviewing this book fairly soon. It's the first source book I've gone over. So I'll try to hit all the high points when I do that, because I have read some other source books that I do want to cover. So this will be kind of a little bit of an experiment. See if I can cover it in a short amount of time. And if that goes well, I'll get to some of the older ones I've read through that are real dynamite. The There is an upcoming D&D miniatures set for the 50th anniversary of D&D that will be split between first edition versions of the creatures and fifth edition versions. So if there's a knoll, it'll have the first edition and the fifth edition version miniatures in the set. So most of the set's been previewed already, even though it doesn't come out for several months. I personally like some of the first edition pieces. Some of them look goofy, but I like a lot of them. The aesthetic of the artwork. Again, it's the nostalgia for something I never actually experienced. It's weird. There's some of the high level villains and known characters, like Lolth has 2 figures. Where you see like her first edition depiction, just like as a drow woman. Fifth edition, she's like half spider and all off the base and everything, and weird. And then there's Morden Kanan from Greyhawk. His current version, he's bald and with a goatee and everything, and like kind of like Lord of the Rings movie kind of looking adventuring gear that actually looks kind of practical. In his first edition, he's got wild black hair, flowing down his back and spells blasting off everywhere, and just a big flowing black robe that's completely impractical. And you're like, yeah, that guy's a wizard. The other guy looks like he killed a wizard and took his stuff. So it's differences like that. Unfortunately, it is going to have chase figures. Yeah, it's made by WizKids. You played HeroClix. You know how this song and dance goes.
Chase figures. I haven't heard that name in years.
I haven't heard that name in a long time. A long time.
But yeah, there's 10 of them. I don't know how they're distributed. They, at least from the 2 we've seen, they are probably going to be off the covers of some of the original adventures, which means it's like Blue Wizard and Armored Knight, so at least it's not like Lolth or Morden Kanan or something, or Vecna, because Vecna's also, they've got 2 figures for him. I actually like his older version more than his new version. But yeah, so definitely worth checking out. I'll post a link in the description if I think about it to a website that'll have it. That's where I go for all my miniatures news.
If there isn't a link in the description, make a comment on this
video. Make a comment. I'll put it in there. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that set more than whatever other set comes out between now and then. But I can't even think of what the hell it is. No, I lost it again. Planescape, that's what it was.
Oh.
So,
speaking of that, there's the
yeah, I saw your copy over there.
box of Planescape over there.
But yeah, so that's coming out. Oh, and there's a standalone, like they sell the larger dragons separately. So there's a standalone dragon for one of the covers, and oh man, I don't know if I'm going to buy this one.
Why?
It's really derpy.
Is that not an incentive?
No. Like, I'm going to see how Sarah reacts to it. If she likes the way it looks, I might buy one for her. But like the others are like ones I think I can actually like use in our campaigns if we ever get back on track, and like they're not going to stand out that badly, or I'll use them as specific ones. Like the Knoll, for instance, looks like my older Knoll figures already. It's the new one that stands out. The Bugbear, the old Bugbear. It's like a pencil-legged, pot-bellied looking thing with like giant fangs and everything. And then you see like the 5th edition Bugbear, and I'm like, that's a cool looking figure, So yeah, but the Death Knight's the one that really, for me, I like the old one. The elf looks pretty cool. I never thought I'd say that ever. Then like the kobolds, they're more dog faced like they used to be before they made it so they're dragon descended. So they're kind of interesting looking. Goblins are kind of interesting looking. But anyway, they've also been making sets of like classic characters, and they've been doing them like letter ranges, so it's like A through this, and G through this, and the one that's about to come out finally has ones I want in it. The 1st edition Lich looks really cool. The older Minotaur looks really cool, and there's a few others. I might buy that set. And then Yeah, other than that, the only thing I had was, and I don't know why I put this in here. I don't know if we talked about it or if it's something like I overheard someone saying in a video. Just thought it was something I'd bring up because I think it was you talking about
Ninja
Ninja
Gaiden.
Gaiden. Yeah, video games we enjoy but haven't or can't beat.
And Ninja Gaiden is definitely one that I cannot beat. Respawning enemies infinitely is the sole purpose on that because he's like, yeah, if you could clear the ledge ahead of you and then jump, the game would be easy. But no, as soon as you like back up to get a running jump, the enemies immediately respawn.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just never been one that I've been able to go through and beat. So
I know. Like for me, like from like Mario, like from number 3 onwards, I just really like the visuals of the game. I don't care that I beat it or not. Like I'm still trying to beat them, even
yeah,
and I have beat several of them. But like for me, like part of the enjoyment is literally like just taking the visuals all in. And so it doesn't matter that I'm going to beat the game or not.
I don't think I actually beat Mario 2.
No, I don't know. I know I beat.
Which Mario 2?
I believe I beat Mario 3, and I believe I beat Mario World. Now, whenever I say I beat Mario World, I mean I beat Bowser. I haven't completely cleared all the. Is it the levels after the Star Road?
The American Mario Bros. 2.
Yeah. Yes, the Doki Doki Panic.
Doki Doki. We think because Americans don't know how to play difficult video games, they thought.
That's why. That's why on Super Mario.
Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels.
Yes, well, it's on the. Which I unfortunately don't have the label on mine, but the Mario Brothers All Stars. Has got the Lost Levels on it.
I have that one.
I'm trying to think. Games I enjoy
with
but
the label.
haven't beat. I mean, like, there's games I haven't beat because I haven't put enough time in to finish them. Like, I enjoy them, but I just.
Well, I mean, there's games that I'll never 100% like the God of War game, because like I got through the game barely, but then it's like, oh, then you've got all these side things like, well, you can beat all of the Valkyries and you could get something. It's like, no, I couldn't even beat one of them. Like the one I ran into, I'm not good with the parry, the dodge and parrying system. I'm even with Jedi Fallen Order, I just brute forced it through to beat it.
Well, what games haven't I beat? I haven't beat Skyrim because I've been too busy doing all the side quests instead of, dealing with the main quest.
You're like, I could save the world, or I could go over here and, you know, fight these bandits over here. And
Yeah.
Pressing matters.
So I need to fire up Mega Man X Command Mission again and see if I ever did defeat. There's a bunch of side bosses that ultimately culminates in a 9-tailed fox of some kind, obviously a robot. And I don't know if I ever got all the way to the 9-tailed one or not, because they definitely get progressively harder. And so it's like you beat a few of them, it's like, all right, got to go grind for a while, which basically means replaying the final boss battle over and over again and getting better and better at that each time to the point that, like, oh, well, now I'm confident that I could use the thief skill to steal one of the things from the boss. It's the only place in the whole game you can get it, and it just like massively increases all your stats. But yeah, you've got a. Did you ever play Command Mission?
Nope.
So it's an RP. It's an RPG for Mega Man X, and depending on like who you're using, like if you use Axel, he can copy the other bosses. But the way it works is like it creates like this giant chart of buttons that like you start here, hit like X, then it's like hit B or A, and then and it just fans out to like the different bosses depending on the button combinations you hammer out. And so it takes like real skill to finally like be able to do all those to get to a specific boss to counter the one you're fighting. Yeah.
versus Mega Man, where you just beat the boss and then get their weapon.
Yeah, well, with Mega Man, I don't remember if he gets the weapons or not in Command Mission. It's been a while since I played it. I think he does, but the real upgrades were like some of the other crap you got along the way, or using Axel to copy the boss that can steal stuff, to steal this thing from the final boss, to then give it to Mega Man, to just like ludicrously boost his stats, and then doing that like 3 or 4 more times to get more of them. So yeah, yeah, it's an interesting game. But like I said, literally, like you beat the game, then it's like, do you want to continue? And it takes you back to a little bit just before the final boss fight with your stats at that point, and you just keep cycling through that. That's how you keep powering up further and further and leveling up till you can start going down the hidden bosses, which are the foxes, which, like I said, culminate in the nine-tail fox. I don't remember if I ever beat that one or not.
Yeah.
As far as the nine-tail fox, I beat the game, beat it into the ground. But
I can't really think of a game I haven't beat because it was too difficult. I haven't played a lot of old school NES games, so
Well, there's a reason why they mention, there's always the phrase NES difficulty because,
Nintendo hard,
yes. So, uh, and I guess we could briefly mention I guess, Nintendo in a panic with, I guess this new game, Pal World, that came out.
yeah, I mean, we're into gaming and everything, so go for it.
So, I've only seen a couple headlines. I didn't even know what it was. I was actually and then Owen brought it up, and I guess being kind of like a Pokemon clone in a sense.
yeah, it's like a mix of like a survival crafting game that you'd see on like Steam but it's also got Pokemon, which you can give.
Well, Pokemon-like creatures.
Yes, Pokemon-like creatures.
Generic pocket monsters, if you will.
Pals.
So, yes, pals. But then when Owen said that they supposedly you can give the pals guns, it's like, technically I should think you give a Pokemon a gun too, but I could see Meowth using one.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the problem is that people are like looking at Nintendo going, why the hell did we not have this before? Like, you guys keep on doing the same thing over and over again. Well, people do like the regular Pokemon games.
Well, I think it's because, you have this like random game coming out, and then people have been looking at the Pokemon games, and they think that the quality's been decreasing on Nintendo's part, over time.
That may be true to a point in some places, but see,
well, they had all the developers working on Mario Wonder, is why.
Mario Wonder, where the developers went.
Yeah, that's pure speculation on my part because it seems like they put a lot of effort into that game.
Well, and I think Game Freak still makes the Pokemon games,
oh.
which may also be part of it. But anyways, that's about all I have on that. We'll have to get some more details before we can discuss further on that. But
why don't you talk about your thrifting?
Yes. So while these people are reading books, I go out thrifting, and eventually I'm going to get to the point where I'm actually, going to actually do some reviews on stuff that I've bought and stuff. Because the first game that I got here, I specifically got this because I want to review just how terrible it is and how 90s this is. I'm assuming it's in the 90s.
Oh, it almost have to be. I mean, it could be real early 2000s, but I'm pretty sure.
This is by Psygnosis, though. That was one I always see. So this is the first one I have is a Spice World game. So for the Spice, it's based off the Spice Girls. It's an interactive music experience. And I'm just like, I did not even realize this was a thing. And I thought that is just that's ridiculous. And yeah, I want to have it in my collection because I like ridiculousness.
I mean,
that's why I've got a Philips CDI and most of the stuff that goes along with it because it's ridiculous.
Yeah, just say it'll be there.
Yeah, so shopping at Goodwill, couldn't pass this up. The Amazon Trail.
Like kind of like the Oregon Trail.
It is the sequel to the Oregon Trail.
Oh.
Well, not sequel. It's from the Oregon Trail, but yeah, it's
spiritual successor.
Yes, because there was actually an Oregon Trail 2, and there was actually an Amazon Trail 2. So, yeah, this is a learning game. Oh, for Windows 95. I do have a PC that runs Windows 95, so good on that. And then the star of the hour, which is, I probably overpaid a little bit on this, and that is, and again, appropriate with the topic of the Jurassic Park and all that, is that got a copy of the Lost World Jurassic Park for the Sega Saturn. Now, I actually already have this on the PlayStation, but I wanted the Saturn version too because I don't have much in my Saturn collection. I've got a handful of games back there. But anytime I see Sega CD, Sega Saturn, if I don't have it, I try to pick it up if it's a decent price. But this actually, you play as you actually play as the dinosaurs in this. And I think sometimes you can play as the people too. But the very first thing says you are the T-Rex. Now that's a kind of a lying statement because you don't get to play as a T-Rex in the beginning. You play as a compy, I believe, in the very beginning.
Makes sense.
And then like a raptor.
Yeah, raptor and Spinosaurus probably. I don't know. You can play as all sorts of dinosaurs. Um, but no, I actually got to go out and go thrifting a little bit. Actually found some stuff. The Amazon Trail one was the one I was surprised about because Goodwills have been really sparse on finding games. I did actually purchase something off Shop Goodwill because I was talking to my girlfriend about that, and I went and tried to sign in. I was like, I can't sign in, so I reset my password and saw a Magnavox Odyssey 3000, which is funny because I've got a Magnavox Odyssey, which we did a review on my 10th unboxing, even though I think it possibly could have been 11th, but it was my 10th unboxing. And then eventually I'm going to do a video on cleaning up my Magnavox Odyssey 2. And now I'm going to have a Magnavox Odyssey 3000. Now my question is, where's the other 298 or 2,998?
Well, I mean, you get something like that with the SimCity games. It's SimCity, then SimCity 2000,
Yep.
then 3000, then 4. Not 4000, 4.
Yeah, well, I've got 2,000, a copy of it sitting right up there on that shelf. So,
yeah, I've got 3 and 4.
Man, they really thought that the year 2000 was gonna be like super advanced, when really it was just 1999. But like,
well, as I found out from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, they just about nailed 2024. I'll talk about that here in a moment, actually.
during the stream, you got anything else in gaming?
well, I seen a thing uh, where it was talking about where we're at in like sci-fi movie timelines, and I think we were like right after Soylent Green.
Probably. I know that the entirety of Back to the Future is now in the past.
Okay, so futuristic movie timeline. So we're between Soylent Green and Children of Men.
Oh, good. We live through Children of Men, one of the most depressing movies I've ever seen. Yeah, I convinced Sarah to watch that. Like, she got to, just text me about it. She's like, "Yeah, it's a good movie. But why'd you have me watch that? That was so depressing." I was like, "Yeah, it kind of is, isn't it?"
Sucks to suck, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, the one I'm not looking. Oh, the funniest thing is we're talking about Minority Report's 2054, but the one I'm not looking forward to is 2047. That's Event Horizon.
Yeah.
And
You know, Satan ship coming in.
Just don't go on a ship with Sam Neill and you'll be all right.
What are you talking about? I am home.
Yeah.
I just like the fact that movie had a original cut that was so graphic that people like were throwing up and getting sick in the theater. And,
womp womp.
well, and the cut that they got released in theaters was pretty damn gory. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a scene, Owen, where a guy's reaching down another guy's throat and pulling his esophagus out like through his mouth.
As you do.
Well, I mean, Nova did that to an Annihilus in a Marvel comic, and theoretically, those are for kids. That was definitely one of those "look, kids" comics kind of moments.
Yeah, there's a few of those. And
isn't the Nihilus a robot though?
He is a bug, actually.
There's a few moments like that.
The best thing to come out of that, though, is the follow-up, like a few years later, where Annihilus is talking to Richard Rider, the guy who did that to him, and he's like, "Yes, I came to you. It was one of your members of your Nova Corps that defeated me last time." And he's like, "I know. It was me." He's like, "No, it couldn't have been you. You're a buffoon. Like, you must have hit your head on a rock back there or something. It couldn't have possibly have been you." And he's just like, "It was me." And he's like, "Yeah, if you say so."
Yeah.
With a moment, a few moments later, where he's like, they have to get into the Fantastic Four's building, and it's only Franklin and Valeria that are there, and they won't answer the door. Like, they answer the door, and they won't let him in for Nova. And Annihilus is like, "Let me handle this. I'm good with children." And Nova's like, "Oh, this I've got to see." And so he opens up the door like, "I am Annihilus, Lord of the Negative Zone, and you shall let me in, spawn of the Fantastic Four," or something like that. And they're like, "The hell with you," and start shooting at him. He's like, good with kids, huh? He's like, it works back home. Yeah. Yeah. So that's all I've got for gaming. So
Yep. So that's all I've got. I mean, you know,
I suppose I should say, because I think I mentioned last time I got the game Scythe for Christmas and I haven't had the chance to play it yet. So I need to finish reading the rules. But
well,
I am looking forward to trying it out.
I say for those who are watching, you can see that I obviously need more video games in my life. Well, you can only see part of it. You
Well,
can
don't worry, Jim. Ubisoft's got you covered. I don't know if you heard what they said the other
Oh
day.
yes,
Oh,
yes. Where
Get used to not owning your games. So, they got you covered on your storage. Don't worry.
no. Yeah, I say from what it looks like you can see on cameras, you can see about 3 of these. It doesn't. You don't see the other 3 on the other side of Owen here, um,
well,
filled with games.
well, no, yeah. I mean, I own a lot of digital games, but I don't use like Ubisoft, Epic Games, or Bethesda service. I just buy it off of Steam.
Well, supposedly, if you violate Steam's terms of service, you don't own your games either.
Right. The only one that I know of that you actually do is Good Old Games, because there you're actually downloading the game and everything to your system, and you don't have to ping back to them to make them run or anything. You own them free and clear. Steam, like you said, it is downloaded to your system, but like it's still got to ping Steam to make it work.
Well, I don't exactly intend to break the terms of service.
Well, the problem is when the terms of service break you, like in Soviet Russia.
Well,
That's a Yakov Smirnoff joke, or something similar to one anyway.
I mean that sounds very similar to like, well, hell, when you have the terms of service are a moving target now, it's like where
Yeah,
today you're fine, but then tomorrow that's fine.
I had my volume off. I want to make sure.
I thought I had mine shut off too, but no. When you have
Yeah, when the terms of service are a moving target, and they'll be like, "Oh, you broke the terms of service when? Oh, 5 years ago when they were different. Something you did then breaks our terms of service now." And it's like, what the fuck? Like, you can't do that. There's a reason why they don't make laws retroactive. You know, except for some recent instances in New York that I'm not going to go into. But yeah,
all right, so I think we're
on to streaming. Well, I've been doing nothing but watching Deep Space Nine. I'm finally into season 7, about 6 episodes in. The show is every bit as good as I remember it. There's a lot more whimsical episodes than I remember. Like, in the middle of the Dominion War, they're playing a baseball game against an all Vulcan crew. Things like that. And I'm like, I remember the show being a little more serious most of the time.
I do remember the baseball game because they had Quark and
Yeah. And there's definitely more humor. I should definitely have been writing down some of the jokes because they've been great, at least in my opinion. Like, oh, they're getting ready to go on a mission, and Worf doesn't want to bring, I believe it's Garrick. And but Cisco orders him to, he has to for some reason. And Worf's like, well, at the first sign of treachery, I am going to kill him. And Cisco's like, that's a joke, right? He goes, oh, we'll see. Or whenever the genetically enhanced people are on board the second time, and one of them's like, well, I figured out the problem. The universe is going to collapse in upon itself because it has too much mass. They're like, well, when's it going to happen? 60 trillion years from now, 70 at the most. They're like, well, we need to get on this then. Like, it's a pressing matter. Yeah, stuff like that. And, it's just a lot of other things. I completely forgot that Nog lost a leg. They're on the planet where Quark gives him the speech about, listen, Nog, like, you've only seen the nice side of humans. Like, you put them in a situation like this, take away their creature comforts and their food and everything, like, and they're as bad as the nastiest, most bloodthirsty Klingon you've ever met. He's like, we need to get out of here. We are in danger. The people that you think are on your side. He's like, forget the Jem'Hadar. Like, they're not the threat here. But yeah, that's where they episode they found out the Jem'Hadar had left mines there, that just like randomly phase back into real space. And if you happen to run into it right then, it blows up. But otherwise, there's no way to detect them. You can walk by the same spot 1,000 times, but 1,001, you time it just right, and boom, you're dead. And then they figured out how to find them once they brought them back into real space. They were everywhere. They were like this far apart, like all over the damn camp. And they're just like, oh shit. Like, well, when you figure out how to deactivate them, and Cisco's like, oh no, we're not going to deactivate them. Like, what do you mean? One of the other guys is like, we're going to use them. And they mine the past the Jem'Hadar to come through. One guy's like, so when they were being used against us, they were just cowardly weapons and now that we're going to use them, like, yeah, pretty much. He's like, now they're a tool that we're going to use against the enemy. And now just that didn't surprise me because that's after the greatest episode in the show, where they bring the Romulans into the war, where Garrick has to assassinate the Romulan senator. And if you pay attention, if you know what's coming, because like there's a point, he's like, well, I need this. The guy that has the rod that we need needs this biomimetic gel. And then later on, you hear Bashir telling him like what all it could potentially be used for. The last thing he mentions is an undetectable organic explosive. There never was another guy. Garrick was the one that wanted it to make the bomb to kill the senator. That's how he got it on board his ship without it ever being detected. Yeah, Garrick's a crafty bastard.
And they're like, Garrick, he's like, well, you wanted the Romulans in the war.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah, because Cisco's like, what'd you do? And he's like, you said, by any means necessary, you wanted the Romulans in the war. You knew you had to come to me because we were going to get our hands dirty. Like, now, they're going to be in the war. And he's like, how do you know? And he walks him through. He's like, well, this happened, this happened, this happened. He's like, what would you do? You'd go to war. And all it cost us is like the life of some criminal, a Romulan senator, and your self-respect. He's like, that's a bargain if you ask me. And the whole thing is like Cisco talking into his thing, and he's like, now, now I'm forced to live with it. He's like, and I can live with it. And he's like, as of 0800 this morning, the Romulans have officially entered the war. And he's like, computer, delete that whole log. He's recording the whole thing.
Whoops.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that. There's been a lot more like Klingon and Ferengi-centric episodes than I remember, which is nice, because it helps flesh out their cultures that we never saw as much as we should have in the next generation. But yeah, and like I said, I forgot that Nog lost his leg, and God, there was a real kind of tearjerker moment there once he came back and had the fake leg, and he like just wants to live in the holodeck basically in the 50s Vegas thing. Even though he gets to the point, like he's convinced he needs a cane, even though they keep telling him you can't feel pain. They're like, your nerves are dead, like it's all in your head. And he gets to the point that he's not using the cane anymore, doesn't even think about it. And finally, the hologram, who seems to be fairly sentient, tells him like, look, you got to leave. He's like, I can't. Like, I'm afraid. I'm terrified. He's like, and like these people were dying in the war, but it was other people. It's like, then I got hit. And then it finally hit home that like I could die. Anything could happen to me out there. And he tells him like, well, if you stay here, you're gonna die. It's gonna happen real slow, but it's gonna happen. He's like, out there, I don't know. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. You got to roll the dice. It's one of those like, yeah, kind of the way it works. But no, it did though make me think you could potentially make an episode or a show or something. Because I got the feeling that he was starting to become like the Doctor on Voyager. Because since Nog was staying in there, the program kept running all the time. And he was already kind of somewhat self-aware and had the ability to turn off his own program. But, like, he was obviously, like, actually living a life at that point. Because he wasn't just shutting off, and then just starting back up the next night in the club because he's a lounge singer, And so at the end of the episode, Nog does him a favor, convinces Quark to just leave the program running nonstop so that he can actually, exist. So I thought that was nice.
They did that with Moriarty, too.
Yeah.
Except for they put him in a cube.
Well, sure. But yeah, and I also think since I know the people that make Star Trek are progressive, we all know that, and I know there's things they want to try to tackle. I really think they should look at the Trill if they want to go down the road of trying to tackle like transgender issues and things like that.
They did that in Discovery.
Well, I know they kind of did in one or two episodes here in Deep Space Nine because Jadzia meets another Trill that in a past life they were married. One is a man, one is a woman, and now they're both women. And it doesn't. They don't go into the whole like, well, now we're both women. Like, it's the whole like, well, we used to love each other. We still do on a certain level, and they didn't make a big deal out of the fact that they're both women, but just the idea that you got something that's used to being a man is now a woman, and vice versa. And I think that would be a good platform to try to tackle some of those issues, and talk about
Yeah.
them in a way that would feel natural to the show.
Yeah. I think that's the one thing that we kind of feel natural. That's the element I think we were looking for. When a message is trying to be delivered in any format, TV, movie, whatever, it needs to be natural. It needs to feel like you're not just delivering lines, but a natural occurring situation that happens that flows like people actually talk.
Yeah. The changelings would also be another way to do it because we know that they can, like, obviously make love as a solid, as they say, because the one comes to visit Oda when they do it, because she's like, well, I never knew that's how it felt for the solids, you know, because the other thing I've picked up on is Deep Space Nine was definitely the sexy Star Trek. Like half of every episode is them talking about who's sleeping with who. So yeah,
You said that she never knew what it was like to feel like with getting a solid.
yes, I'm aware. I'm aware. But yeah,
I know.
like I know it won't ever go there, but I know there's definitely some people that know that Odo and Kira hook up at some point, and they're definitely thinking like, he is a shapeshifter. Like, think of the possibilities. But I know that it was too much of a prude to even contemplate them.
Yeah.
So, but that's another thing. I've realized that like you've got Garrick, who's essentially going against his own race, trying to fight the Dominion. You've got Odo going against his own people, fighting the Dominion. You got Kira, who half the time has to go against her own people for various reasons. Cisco's going against Starfleet constantly. This is a group of people fighting their own people as much as they're fighting the enemy, trying to find a way through. And it's just interesting to watch. Like Garrick had a major meltdown over the whole deal, realizing that he's helping Starfleet, and it's going to end up costing his people millions of lives because they'll fight to the death, to the bitter end. Even if they don't want to, the Dominion will make sure that they do. Of course, what he didn't know is it's going to be fighting against the Dominion. Once Tamar becomes the new leader of the Resistance. I haven't got that far, but I do know there's the clip where they're saying that Damar is in a hidden mountain fortress, and they're really hiding in some woman's basement. And Garrick's like, I didn't know you had a mountain fortress. And Damar's like, I was waiting to surprise you. Obviously joking. He doesn't have a mountain fortress anywhere. But, yeah, and Damar goes from being just some chump that's hanging out with Ducat to being a pivotal character in the last 2 seasons of the show. Ducat's all over the place. Like in the early seasons, you think maybe this guy might have some sympathetic qualities. By the end, like, no, this guy's just pure evil. Like,
Yeah, when he finally goes on his crazy rampage at the end.
well, him and Cisco are trapped on a planet, and he just goes on this rant. And finally, he's just like, "You're right. I should have just killed all the Bajorans." It just goes like, "Yeah, you're not evil." But yes, great show. Great show. Only thing I've been watching on streaming.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been streaming really much of anything. Again, I barely watch a little bit before bed, and then it just seems like get up, go to work, come home, work on the house, go to bed, and then I'll watch a couple of shows while I'm things on YouTube or whatever, and go to bed. And almost started watching the second season of Strange New Worlds, but I was like, I don't want to get invested in it and then fall asleep in the middle of it or whatever. So
I look on the bright side. There's, as far as like time wise, there's probably not 26 episodes a season like there are of Deep Space Nine.
yeah.
Real seasons.
So, anything you watched on streaming, Owen?
No, not really.
I should keep yawning. You're making me yawn. Okay. Well, anything on the miscellaneous side of things that we want to talk about?
The only thing I've got, I think there was something else. It'll come to me. Otherwise, maybe not. It would appear that Hasbro seems to be facing some issues from retailers now. Apparently, some retailers have come out and said that they've been telling Hasbro for a while, like, one, slow down. Two, you need to start making things people will actually buy. Like, basically talking about, like, some of the Disney stuff.
Well, that's why when you go to Always, all you see are
That's part of it. Part of that's still also because of the logistics jams that keep happening. Like, stuff builds up, then it all blasts in all at once, and retailers can't absorb it. So they're like, well, we can't take these orders. And Always is like, we'll take them.
then,
For some of it. Others is like the Eternals figures that, like, no one wanted.
or Shang-Chi.
Yeah. But, yeah, they just announced some, like, $200 Transformer, and some retailers are like, we can't carry that. No one will buy it from us off a store shelf. Like, a $200 Transformer. Like, are you serious?
Like that's stuff you reserve for like a website only.
Right.
A website or like, a store dedicated to that kind of thing.
Right. And the retailers were even like, look, if other sales were good, we could try it. But the problem is, like, Transformers used to be here, and now it's here. And, like, we can't take that risk, Like, if it was still up here, we might. But, like, we know that your web store, Hasbro Pulse, now also has a discount section in it where they're slashing the prices on things. And so one of the retailers is like, yeah, sure, put it up on your website. When you knock it down to like $100, then we'll buy some and resell them. We'll buy them from you for $100 and then resell them for $200 or something.
Speaking of retailers,
which would actually be a bad deal for them, but
Yep. Yeah. Well, I know you have, but you heard of this new craze over all these Stanley tumblers?
I saw something, and I kept seeing all these videos about Stanley Cups, and I was like, are they talking about the hockey trophy?
No,
that's what I thought.
And then
first.
and I was like, who the hell? Like, they're like, why is a Stanley Cup so big or so small? I was like, what the hell are you people talking about? There's a Stanley Cup, and then I finally see like a picture of one. I'm like, oh, it's a tumbler. I was like, okay, well, whatever. But they're what, sell like Target or something?
Yeah, they saw at Target, and it was like it had like a Valentine's Day special tumbler. I don't know what's so special about it. I think because it was pink and it had like a design on it. And there were like people waiting outside of the store hours before it opened to grab a tumbler.
And then I see people that are like, I've got the original. They've got like the Stanley, the coffee one with the green with the cup that's the lid of it.
Yeah.
They're like, I've got the original. I don't need anything.
But no, it's ridiculous because there's like fights breaking out.
How much should they go for on the secondary market? That's what I need to know.
I think it's like $35 for some of them.
What do they cost at retail?
I don't know. It's crazy because it's like people were like, the police arrested a woman who had like a trunk load.
No, I saw that.
Full of them. It's like, it's just a cup. What's so special about it?
It keeps your drink warm or cold. Really good, maybe.
I might have to check the Target in Bloomington Monday. If there's money to be had on flipping, maybe I'll have to look. Because, yeah, I should have mentioned it while you're talking about that, but I did buy a couple of Lego sets recently with intent to flip, and I've already flipped one of them. One was a Galaxy Explorer for $33. Sold it for $70. Some guy in Canada. I also bought a Lego Friends set. that retails for 160. Got it for 53. So have to see how that goes.
Lego.
It's actually one of those sets that, like, if I get stuck with it, I won't mind. It actually looks like a good set. I'll just build it, put it in my city stuff. But it'll just be a little bit more colorful in the surrounding buildings. But it looks nice as far as like the details and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I sent some stuff. Well, showed Owen one, and I sent some over to Bobby too. That off of like AliExpress, they have some building block figures, and for Owen, they had uh, the Metal Gear or the Metal Gear Rex
Oh, yeah.
figure from uh, from the best Metal Gear game ever, Resurgence or
Revengeance.
Revenge, whatever. It's something. It's Revengeance, whatever it is where you play as Raiden.
Yeah.
Raiden,
Where instead of a stealth game, it's slashy.
Yeah.
where you have to do like dismemberment mechanics. And then they had BattleTech figures on there. Now they were fairly pricey, but they were also like
Yeah.
2,500 pieces or 2,300 pieces or whatever.
Oh, well. I didn't see that part. I guess I should have looked a little bit closer. In that case, I can understand it.
It was like $80 for 2,300 pieces. And they look like pretty decent figures. I mean, I've had decent luck with them. The problem that I've had with like the Star Trek ships that I've gotten off sites like that is the connecting pieces were a little like for like the pylons and stuff. They were not very substantial, and I'd end up having to modify it a little bit. But if you have to modify them a little bit to get them to work, I mean,
Yeah. Well, I've noticed looking on Amazon for Lego sets that Amazon is just like completely swamped with like the knockoff company stuff.
Yeah.
And like you know the modular sets, they're like $250 at retail now. I think they started off at 150 years and years ago, and now they're up to like 230. They're like $50 for the knockoffs. And I'm like, that is a hell of a step down in price. Like, are these things of any quality at all?
well, I mean
Like the pictures look nice, and they're definitely of different buildings. They're not like the same ones Lego makes. They're different kinds, you know, to really like for variety.
Really, it like for knockoffs, I'm just gonna say it. We've got a couple, and it really does vary in quality because some of the bricks they work. Some of them work well. Some of them don't work as well. Sometimes they don't even include the right piece.
well, the brick bank we had, I think it was missing a piece, one or two pieces, but I mean overall the connection pieces on it were pretty decent. Same thing with the Lego Death Star. Um, it I say Lego. I should say the Death Star set that we got because I got it because one you can't buy it anymore except for used and or in you can't buy it new. So I bought it off of AliExpress, and I mean it fit together pretty good. Um, that was my first whatever into putting one of those kind of sets together, and I think it took like 2 or 3 months to put together by the time we sat down and got enough time to do it.
Yeah, I still haven't actually put together my modular sets. I have, well, they're still in my possession, 3 of them, but I've sold 2 of them in the last few days. I do plan on keeping the third one, the Parisian restaurant. But no, I had the theater corner one and the pet shop, which is 2 smaller buildings together. And it was just like, well, you know, these things are worth like over $300 a piece, and they were like $100 whenever I bought them, or 150. So I could use the money more than I could use these just sitting in a closet, not being put together. Because I want the current one, the hotel. That's like the weird geometry one.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one where it's like on like a corner.
Yeah, but it's like corner, but it's like this, like a V shape. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I want that one. I think I go real well with the restaurant.
I've seen that one. That one looks neat. It'd definitely be one I'd want to get.
Yeah,
Even though it's only a hotel, it has like 3 rooms.
well, that's just because nothing in Legos to scale unless it's actually. That's why there's, I believe, 2 sets that are to scale, and one I'm not even 100% certain. The one's the Millennium Falcon, and it's bigger than this table. Like, that's how big it has to be the action figure to be the minifigure scale. And then I believe the like $800 AT-AT is the figure scale. That's why it can hold like the ungodly number of stormtroopers.
40 of them, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think actually has the cockpit's actually big enough for the two pilots to sit side by side with General Veers standing behind them.
Yeah, but even with all that weight, that you still can't, the neck isn't actually, can't put figures in there.
Well,
speaking of the AT-AT, I was showing the girlfriend the 70, 78 or 79, whichever year, I think 79 when it came out, the AT-AT, the original one. 80?
Empire came out in 80. So, assuming the toys came out the same year.
Yes. So, yeah, when it came out, I was showing her
The only reason I say that is because unless it's in the Christmas special, because the Christmas special came out before Empire.
Now, it may be 80. I don't know. I just know it's the oldest possible thing that could be for that. But I was showing her that. She goes, "Well, that's cute." She's like, "That's adorable." I'm like, "You realize this is a machine of death,
A war
war machine." I'm like, "Here, watch it." And she goes, "Well, that's mean. They're shooting them." I'm like,
"Oh, do the guns still work on yours?"
No, the chin guns are missing. So is the top hatch. But in fairness, I paid $15 for that.
I think the guns work on mine. I know they don't light up like they're supposed to. The bulb's definitely burned out, but I'm pretty sure that they do still do that. I got to change the batteries and find out.
No, I got $15 for mine. I'm not going to complain that it's missing a couple of pieces. It had both pilots in it because Owen picked up some from one of the toy conventions that we went to.
That was a while ago.
Though,
I thought about selling mine because it's just sitting there. I don't do anything with it.
So did you see the latest on the Indiana Comic Con? That George Takei.
Yeah, Sulu. I saw that.
I should have him sign my Laserdisc version of
there you go.
The Undiscovered Country because he played a pivotal role in that movie.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the motion picture, but yeah, The Undiscovered Country. Yeah, because it's not a Laserdisc of the other that you got.
It's
the
CED.
CD. Yeah,
I could have him sign that one too. I have to probably pay twice though, which would be like, I'm assuming his autographs are probably $100.
Yeah, I think I've seen before that a lot of those guys they charge that for the first one, but they've got like a really reduced rate for anything else. I think that's how they usually do it, or it's like up to like 2 or 3 things kind of stuff. It just depends on the guy signing.
Now, did
or
you say
gal or whatever?
Did you say that was John Rhys Davies that you got his autograph before?
No, John Rhys Davies. Okay, the John Rhys Davies story. Here we go. The first year Gen Con came to Indianapolis, autographs were free. And they were just paying the people directly.
Yeah.
And so Chris and I were going to try to get John Rhys Davies' autograph. Well, he wasn't there for the first signing, if I recall correctly. And then the second signing, there's a line wrapped around, and we're trying to get in the back of the line. It was the two of us and a woman dressed as a TIE fighter pilot. And this guy is like, "Oh, you guys can't get in the line. This is the end of the line." Like, how do you mean this is the end of the line? Like, he's going to be signing for like another 2 hours. Like, and he's going to be lucky to get through these people. And I was like, "Well, I tell you what, guy, like, if we get up there and he's like, I've got to go, we'll walk away peacefully. We'll waste 2 hours. Don't care." He's like, "No, because he'll be a nice guy and he'll stick around, but he has to get going because he's got a plane to catch or something." And we kind of walk away, and TIE fighter pilot lady's like, "I think we could probably take him." Me and Chris like, "Oh, we definitely could. Like, that scrawny bastard, we could beat him up and throw him onto the stage and no one ever notice." But we probably better not. So, we always regretted never getting his autograph. Ended up getting Tracy Lords' autograph, who, for those of you who don't know, she's a former adult entertainment star. Most of her films are illegal because she was underage when she made them. And she was there promoting her book, talking about all this. But she's also in a few sci-fi movies. She's in the movie Blade. At the very beginning of the movie, she's the one that brings the guy into the club. And then Blade ends up killing her in the big bloodbath later on. She's also in the movie Virtuosity, performing at a club whenever Russell Crowe's character shows up and starts murdering people. Also in a couple movies on the Sci-Fi Channel, I believe. So anyway, and didn't get anyone else's autograph. The next year they started charging, and we're like, "Oh, this sucks. They were free last year." And then like 2 or 3 years went by of like actually decent people showing up. We had like not the main 2 guys from Mythbusters, but the other crew.
Yeah.
Chris got their autographs. Kevin Sorbo was there one year, and good Lord, he's as tall as he looks on TV. He really is pretty tall. Richard Roundtree, guy used to play Shaft, he was there. Mark Singer was there, the Beastmaster. David Carradine was there one year. I wish I got his autograph. Missed out on that opportunity.
Did you say you choked?
Yeah. That was the year where like there was the listing of the pictures, and the last one was like nudes, and we were like, "Who the hell is this for?" I was like, "Well, maybe David Carradine. I guess he's kind of a swinger guy, right?" But also Chekhov was there that year. I kind of wish I got his autograph.
Yep.
Then the nudes was I'll think of her name here in a minute. She played Shakti in the movie, but you can't tell it's her under all the makeup. Bai Ling, Asian, obviously, is probably tell from the name. In several other things, but that's I think that's the reason she was there. And yeah, so like for 2 years after there were decent stars like that. Then like the third year, like the highlight was Rupert from Survivor, probably because he lives in Indianapolis. And then it like just nosedived after that. 2 years later, like that was pretty much the end of it as far as like actual like official signings for autographs. Gen Con's is not really an autograph convention. So 2 years ago, 3 years ago at Comic Con, we saw that John Rhys Davies was going to be there. Like, all right, finally, we'll get this man's autograph. And then we see like, or we could get his picture for one fee for both of us in the picture. We'll just get 2 copies. That's the better way to go. That's more memorable. So we got our picture taken together with John Rhys Davies.
You should take the picture and have him sign it.
Because he's there again this year.
Yes.
I saw that, yes.
Yes.
Could you sign this? What the hell?
I'm sure that's happened before.
Yeah, I'm sure it has.
Well,
I might do that.
Well, I said if I can, if William Shatner's ever out again,
Bring a picture of William Shatner and see if George Takei signed that.
that was I told Owen.
He'd probably punch me. The two of them don't get along, from what I understand.
So I'm debating, because if I do, I think I'm going to take my laser disc copy of The Undiscovered Country, because like I said, George Takei plays a pivotal role in that, because he plays the captain of the Excelsior.
Yeah, if I've got the money, I might try to get my picture taken with him, because I got a picture with Kirk. I wish I would have gotten something signed by Nichelle Nichols, because she was at Gen Con to promote Star Trek Catan the year they released it. And I think she's passed away, hasn't she?
Yes.
And but I know if he can make it somewhere, we could still theoretically get Chekhov's autograph. He's still alive.
Well, and I still wish I would have got Quark's autograph when he was.
I'm hoping he shows up again.
He wasn't there last year.
I'm hoping he is,
because he had his own booth though.
Yeah, because he was there as Armand Shimmerman, owner of the book company. It's like, wait a minute, that's Quark. Also the principal in the first few seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But yeah, I wish that Avery Brooks would show up. I'd definitely get a picture taken with him. And who else was there? Star Trek. It's Denise Crosby. Is that her name?
No, she's not going to be there.
Oh, did she cancel?
She had a scheduling conflict. But the guy from Picard was going to be there. The captain the captain of the Titan.
Oh, is he?
Yes. I saw that.
Might look into something there.
Yeah, no, I mean, it seems like they're filling out the list pretty nicely now. I mean,
yeah, I see people online are hoping that Michael Rosenbaum shows up since Tom Welling's there. Since he played Lex, opposite Tom Welling as Superman,
Yeah.
And the guy that played Jonathan Kent is still on the list. Kind of surprising. I told you why, right? Well, I guess, and I'm not going down the political alley on this one. I'm just telling you what happened. I guess on Twitter he made a disparaging comment towards some of the current folks in Washington, followed up by like something to the effect of that they're treasonous people that should be hung, and the Secret Service is investigating him. And a lot of these conventions tend to be run by people of a more liberal persuasion. So, I kind of figured saying something like that, they'd be like, yeah, you're out of here. But he's still listed, so,
Yeah.
maybe they have a sense of humor, because I'm sure he probably meant it as a joke. Maybe? I don't
I don't
know.
know.
He was one of the Dukes of Hazzard, so maybe not.
I've seen the list. I've seen people who would be nice to have their autograph, but not anyone who I need to.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, the one would probably be George Takei, and I'd probably rather have a picture. And that's because he was on Classic Trek. Like you said, he's an important character later on too in the movies. He's one of the classic crew. You know,
Well, maybe if I can financially wing it, maybe we won't stay down there or stay up there this year. But we'll come back and then use that money to get both an autograph and a picture.
well, Chad and I are debating on because that's the same weekend that Adepticon is going to be happening, and in Schaumburg, right outside of Chicago. And so we're talking about maybe on Saturday driving up to that because that's a wargaming convention. So Catalyst is going to be there with BattleTech stuff. Dwarven Forge is going to be there with a bunch of their stuff. So, that would be if we do, we're definitely going to be recording stuff from that one because that's definitely going to be people be interested in that kind of stuff. I mean, I'd still like to record a little bit from Comic Con, even though it's more of a regional thing. Just people probably be interested if we can. Depends on how everything works out. Yeah, the other thing I keep seeing people though about Comic Con is like, so where are the comic book people?
Yeah, because all they had was the TV and film, but then they had panelists and
Yeah, because they're like, so are comic book people showing? Should we bring our comics to be signed? And I'm like, well, it's a pretty good question. It's a comic book convention. Don't tell me we're going to become like the San Diego Comic Con and basically just be like where Hollywood goes and talks about their movies. That's because for everything I've read, that's what that's become anymore. Like, forget going there for comic books.
yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. Um, though I do the one thing I do like about the Indiana Comic Con, it's definitely a smaller convention. It's not one that's you got so many people to try to
Or there's
navigate.
70,000 people crammed into not 70,000 people's worth of space.
That and taking a tour of the floor would not take 2 hours like it did from the one recording I did of Gen Con.
Yeah.
Being able I mean it's a much more compact experience. It's not one where you feel like you have to be there all 4 days to experience it. um, it's one where it's like, say, if you got like a VIP pass, you probably would have a better experience with it and not feel like you're you know working out your life savings to get it.
Oh, like the VIG pass for Gen Con? Have you ever actually looked into those? Well, first, you're entered into if you don't already have, excuse me, if you don't already have one, you're entered into a lottery to maybe be able to purchase one. Then I believe they're like $800. Now that does cover your badge.
I sure the hell hope so.
So, that's where 100 and I think it's $46 this year goes to for the 4-day badge. But now for the rest of it, I believe it means you get the first crack at the hotels. That's what you're really paying for at this point. Because if you get the first crack at the hotels and you've got the money, you're going to get a connected hotel. And then there's a room that you're allowed to go into at any point that like non-VIG people can't get into. There's refreshments, places to sit down and do whatever, charge your phones. You can check your bags there, so you don't have to carry them everywhere, and just come back at the end of the day and get everything. So I mean, there's some other things to it, and there is like a swag bag of some kind, but I've been told that it's maybe $50 worth of stuff from what I see on the forums. So there are advantages. It's one of those like, if I had the money, I would try to, but it's not something I'm going to intentionally go out of my way and like save all year to try to do that. It's like I'm making a hell of a lot more than I was making right now. Or if I were just working full time right now, I'd have enough. But
Because at Indiana Comic Con, the VIP badge gets you, I believe, a quick line to get autographs.
yeah,
Um, which if you're spending the money to get the autographs, I mean, may be worthwhile because then you won't be spending an entire day's worth waiting in line to get how many ever autographs that you want to get.
yeah,
I mean, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't want to stand in line for 2 hours to get Will Wheaton's autograph.
I don't mind spending any time in line waiting on Will Wheaton's autograph.
I know. I'm just saying, if I still kick myself because I wish I would have been able to get the 2 autographs the one year we got in McDermott's autograph, because I'd like to also got Ray Park because he was there. Darth Mauls.
Yeah, and I think Chris and I are going to C2E2 for one day. It's in Chicago. So I'll have to see who's there as far as autographing. I don't know if I'm going to bother with any of that, but
Yeah.
I know he's wanting to go for to get custom art done, whatnot.
Yeah, I wish I would have got Peter Mayhew's autograph when he was down in Evansville. I think it was Evansville.
Yeah, it was Evansville.
Yeah. Remember I showed Owen, and I was like, he's just like, because you were fairly little and you were extremely shy and didn't want him to see you.
Well, Peter Mayhew was also looking pretty rough.
Yes.
So
I think he was wheelchair bound at that point.
yeah, he was.
So well, it's kind of like when I see people showing recent pictures with Tim Curry.
He had a stroke. He's not in a good way.
And I mean, I still give him credit because it still seems like he likes to get out and see his fans and everything. And
yeah,
I respect him for it, but I mean, at the same time, I don't completely understand. He's like, you know what? I think I've
done enough for the culture. I'm calling it a day.
I'm gonna go back to Transylvania.
So I can go to the one place capitalism has not expanded to.
Space. All right, I think we're.
I think it's the most egregious overacting I've ever seen. The sight of Raul Julia in Street Fighter the movie,
which is one of the Saturn games that I have. Street Fighter the movie, the game.
It just sounds like Street Fighter.
You would think it would be, but it's probably not.
No, it's Street Fighter the movie, the game. I can tell you for a fact, because
it's Street Fighter, but it's got like.
Oh, that's Street Fighter Alpha.
Wow, Dad.
That's an actually decent game. Sorry, it was right next to the good one. No, see, it says Street Fighter the movie.
Oh yes, I forgot digitized actors.
Yeah, it's when they try to do like the Mortal Kombat stuff with it.
Owen, have you ever seen the movie?
No.
You ever seen the Super Mario movie, the one from the 90s?
No.
Man, Jim, we got to pick a day and just like sit down and watch these movies. We'll top it off with The Last Jedi when we see if we can find anything redeemable about it. Or we'll start with The Last Jedi, so our expectations will be so low that these other movies will be fantastic.
Yeah.
We need to watch the Dungeons & Dragons movie, too. I've got it on Vudu, so we can watch it.
Can the next day be filled with actually good movies? I haven't seen, like, Terminator 2 and Die Hard.
You got to talk to your dad about those, but I'm all for it. Have you seen Terminator 1?
No.
Yeah, you kind of need to see that for Terminator 2, I would think.
Yeah. Just note that you kind of see a little bit more of Arnold than you may want to see.
Yes, you will in one scene.
So, anyways, on that note, I think we've met it to the end here, and I know we've got some other items that we've got to get knocked out too while you're here. So, I think we'll bring this meeting to a close. I know we forgot to say in the middle of the thing. Usually, want to say to if you're liking what you're hearing here.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to put it in my notes, to pimp the thing right here.
Yeah, definitely. Let us know down in the comments below. Especially if there's anything that you heard that you liked, didn't like, got wrong, got right, all of that. Comment down below. Definitely like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube algorithm stuff, because we're definitely, still wanting to grow. I didn't even check where we were at this morning.
324.
324. Wow. That's more people than I know.
Well, I should. If any of you are still listening at this point, if you sign up to our thing because of a card that I put in something that you bought from me off Bricklink or eBay, drop a comment. I'm curious if anyone's actually signing up from those. I've been putting them in everything I've been mailing out, so I'm gonna start putting them in like my phone bill that I mail in. The hell's this? Alright.
Also, your electric bill.
Yeah. Water bill.
Getting pulled over by the police here.
Officer, this is going to seem odd, but check me out online. Are you trying to bribe me? No, I'm just, do what you got to do. Give me the ticket, but, check us out. Yeah.
Anyways, like I said, we'll bring this meeting to a close, and we'll see you on the next meeting of the Geek Cabal.
Yep. See you folks later.
Later.
Adios.